Hi, I'm James and thanks for tuning in to eBuyer. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at this insane ASUS ROG Strix Scar gaming notebook. With a Ryzen 9 CPU, an RTX 3080, 2TB of NVMe storage, and a 360Hz display built in, this thing is absolutely crazy. Let's do this. Having covered off the basic outline in terms of specs, let's now take a closer look at the I/O, connectivity, and of course performance. Let's kick things off by taking a physical look around the laptop. Up top, we've got a large keyboard with a dedicated number pad and keypad, so essentially full size but slightly compacted into a laptop form factor. A row of dedicated function buttons at the top, alongside some media and proprietary ASUS control keys, give you a really conclusive range of connectivity. You can see here we've got Ryzen 9 and RTX graphics inside, which flank a glass trackpad, which feels really quite nice to the touch. You are going to want to plug in probably an external mouse for gaming, but this is going to work great for general day-to-day use. Switching round to the left-hand side of the notebook, we've got a 3.5mm port for your audio input, so microphone or headphone output. We've then got two USB 3 super speed ports, which are great to see, and some ventilation. Moving around to the back, and here you'll find the bulk of our I/O, something commonly found on gaming notebooks. We've got the large power connector here, which delivers power to the powerful components inside, alongside a full-size RJ45 Ethernet connection. This is going to be great for hooking up at a LAN party, getting into the LAN, or even just reducing your latency while you're gaming at home. A HDMI output port alongside a USB-C/mini display port and a USB 3.0 port give you plenty of I/O at the rear, with large vents on either side helping to keep the notebook cool. Spinning round then to the right hand side, and it's pretty minimal. We've just got a singular vent at the top and then our ROG keystone. We're going to come onto this a little bit later in its own dedicated video to cover off how the keystone can benefit you and how it's actually quite interesting. Moving round to the screen, and that's one of the largest selling points on this notebook, and rightfully so. Its 360Hz refresh rate is one of the highest you'll find on any monitor, let alone a laptop. What's more, the 1080p display is sharp and crisp, and you will find yourself with that high refresh rate having a slightly low resolution. If you'd like a 1440 or 4K screen, you aren't going to get that 360Hz, which will give you the edge in competitive high frame rate gaming titles. It's all good though having a high refresh rate, powerful screen that needs lots of pixels driving if you don't have the hardware underneath. That's where the RTX 3080 graphics come in. A powerful 16GB graphics card is pretty much one of the best GPUs on the market right now, and plays the latest titles in 1080, 1440p and 4K without breaking a sweat, allowing you to plug up the notebook to a 4K TV if you wanted to, or game in 1080p at a really high refresh rate and frame rate on the Scar notebook. One thing this notebook actually does really well is RGB. Oh yes, it lights up like a Christmas tree in more areas than one. The keyboard is fully RGB, fully addressable, and you can configure this in software. But who just wants an RGB keyboard when you can also have an addressable RGB light bar at the bottom of the notebook, which wraps around to both the left and to the right hand sides, and even RGB under the screen, which not only looks awesome from behind, but also helps to illuminate this area of the notebook with some nice RGB accent lighting. It really does feel an incredibly premium package, and it doesn't end there. A really cool translucent design on the top allows you to see through to the PCB of the computer and of the keyboard, which is a really nice touch. And you do get a bit of customizability at the rear when it comes to aesthetics. Now you'll notice here we've got an ROG logo accent piece, Republic of Gamers, ASUS's flagship gaming brand. You can actually go ahead and remove this though really easily, just slides off and secures into place with a magnet. And you can replace this out for a couple of other finishes, which come included in the box. So you've got a really nice, sleek and simple silver, which I quite like, and it follows the nice design trend on the rear panel. Or you've got a more kind of matte finish, a stealth finish if you will. It's grey, it's nice and sort of singular monotone in its design, and it looks really awesome. I think I prefer the translucent design of all of them, but having this extra degree of customizability is a really great selling point on this undoubtedly very premium notebook. I'm going to come back to the performance and refresh rate in a moment, testing out some high frame rate gaming titles. But first, let's check the screen really stands up to the standards we expect when it comes to vividness, sharpness, and image quality. We've got this 4K HDR video that we're going to play, really nice and high quality, and this is going to give us a great idea of both viewing angles and also contrast, darkness levels, brightness levels, pretty much everything we could want to explore. You can see here the image looks pretty sharp. It is of course a 1080p panel, so you're not going to get quite the sharpness you will get at 4K, but it is a very, very good 1080p panel. Areas of this image look pin sharp considering the resolution, and of course, it's something we absolutely think is worth it when you get that super high refresh rate. Given the screen's 15-inch size as well, 1080p works pretty well. If you're going for a much larger format display like a 50-inch TV, the resolution becomes more important as the pixels are essentially bigger. Here though, when we've got that higher pixel density crammed into the smaller space, and with an image like that, I mean that is incredible, this is going to work great for us. So we've established that the screen looks good, but how do the built-in speakers sound? Now, admittedly, a lot of people when they're gaming on a device like this will be using a gaming headset. But for general content consumption, jumping on a Zoom call, or just giving your ears a bit of a break, it's important that the speakers in this device sound good. So let's give this a play and just build this up slowly and see kind of what we're able to achieve. Not too bad so far, nice bit of clarity in the sound. That's now full volume, they're pretty loud actually. And the drop comes in, there's a little bit of bass in there, a little bit of compression going on, but actually for notebook speakers, these are not bad at all. They could go a little bit louder, but I think they're adequately loud enough for the vast majority of people. And for content consumption, jumping on a Zoom call, whatever it might be, these are going to work great. Now that we've established that though, let's jump into the first of our gaming benchmark tests. This is of course CSGO. Now while it's one of the more easy to run games on the market right now, and it's been around for some time, it's a high frame rate title that competitive gamers really need that high refresh rate display for, and that's where this notebook comes in. We have enabled the frame rate counter as well in the top left corner, which you'll be able to monitor throughout, and I'll just talk through the numbers to make sure we're saturating the 360Hz display on this machine. Straight off the bat then, we've got a nice kill in the bag and we're sitting around about 280, 300 frames per second. So getting really very close actually to the 300, so another one, the 360Hz refresh rate of the display on this Scar notebook. You can see really, even on this video, which will probably be 30 or 60 frames per second, the fluidity of the display, and when I move the mouse, you really are not missing a pixel. The advantage of a high refresh rate is that the frame refreshes many more times in a singular second. That's essentially 6 times the number of refreshes that you'd find on a 60Hz display, and as such the interval between frames is 6 times shorter. That means there's many more opportunities for the action happening on your screen to be seen that bit earlier, which is really important in a game like CSGO, where frame rate is literally everything. The next title to test out then is a little bit of Apex Legends. We're going to be playing this at full 1080p HD resolution with pretty much high and medium settings across the board. I've also popped a frame rate counter in the top left, which gives us the average frame rate, and we'll see what that kind of levels off at. That's not only a great measure of the hardware in this system, but also a great indication of whether we're able to really satisfy the high refresh rate of the panel. Here we go. Diving into the world then, and we're currently sitting around about 132, 125, 135 frames per second. That's really not bad actually in Apex so far. Jumped up to 160 as well as the world really starts to render in and the map sort of caches up really. Let's go on top of this building, let's grab a gun and let's get going. So the frame rate is still around 150 frames per second. I'll absolutely take that if you gave me that option. Before we started recording this notebook gaming section, yeah, I'll have a shield, lovely stuff. Not a great deal of action at the moment, but the frame rate has jumped up now to nearly 170, 180 frames per second, which is not a bad result at all actually. That's super impressive considering we're on obviously a laptop form factor. And one thing that really stands out is just how quiet the notebook is. You physically can't really hear the fan on the notebook, which is pretty impressive considering its small form factor. Often gaming notebooks run really loud in order to keep the components cool, but obviously the cooling solution that ASUS have equipped the Scar notebook with out of the box is really very sufficient to keep it cool, quiet, and our frame rate nice and high. Still around 150 frames a second as well, so nice and steady, not dropping anytime soon, which is exactly what we like to see. Oh no! And we are out, but we still managed to achieve around about 130, 150 frames per second on average. So really taking advantage of the much higher than 60 Hz refresh rate that you typically find on a lot of notebooks nowadays. The screen looks great, colors look awesome, and it performs super well with the overclocked 8-core Ryzen CPU and RTX 3080 graphics really holding their own. And on that note, that pretty much wraps it up for our unboxing, overview, and review of the ASUS ROG Scar gaming notebook. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to get subscribed to the eBuy channel, and if you'd like to pick one of these notebooks up for yourself, check out the eBuy.com links in the description of this video. Thank you very much for watching though, and as always, we'll see you soon.